Welcome to Pockets of Joy, Season 2, Episode 5, where I am joined by Ireland's hottest comedian, Daniel Byrne, also from Young Hot Guys podcast. Shane has just finished a sellout run of shows in the Edinburgh Fringe. He talks to me about how he manages to keep his energy up for the whole time, how he minds himself when he's on tour as well, and his hopes for the future. This podcast is on YouTube and all the audio platforms. Enjoy. Hello!
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm tired, but apart from that, good.
How do I pin us both so we get to see us both at the same time? Oh, here we go. Hang on. Gallery. Yay. Okay, deadly. Now we're both on screen.
I'll do gallery as well. Show selfie.
This going out on YouTube?
Yeah.
In video form. Yeah. I mean, like Stadia, like.
What'd you say?
I said the Stadia, like, but you're grand with that.
I am a bit like that because I'm only out of bed. I have a different time zone because I'm here. I go to bed at 3. I get up at 12. This is my life.
So do I. I go to bed at 2. I get up at 10. So not too different.
Yeah, well, that's because of your choices you've made. I don't have any children to give breakfast to or anything. I just have beer. I know. I ran around to Centra. I got my kids pastries this morning. That's how I roll. Oh, that'll do them.
They're grand. They're fed.
Yeah.
So where are you? Edinburgh?
Edinburgh, yes. Demented. It's the last week and everyone is just full mad now and just ready to go home. I'm trying to think I've been nicer in some way.
No, it's grand. I mean, we've got the pillows in the background. We've got the clothes over the chair. Hat, lovely, colourful.
Let's see. We do a hat.
Yeah, that's good. That's cute.
I should have bathed. I'm glad you're getting to talk. I have to do a voiceover after this as well. So I was like worried about having to now I get to talk for an hour. I was like, that'll go warm me up. Yeah.
I've just been singing. That's my new thing. That's how I warmed up my voice just now.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I found a guy on YouTube who sings the male parts of all the Disney ballads I love. So I just be Rapunzel and Jasmine and whoever else I want.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So
I was telling someone the other day about singing. I was like, the best thing to sing to in the car is any songs that have lots of harmonies in them, because if you sing somewhere, you'll always be right. You'll land in the right place somewhere. If there's multiple harmonies going on, you'll find one. Yeah, and you'll think you're absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
love it. Do you sing as well as everything else that you do?
No, I'd like to, but I don't know. I'm trying to be like with the show, stand-up shows. I'm like, no, I'm being a pure stand-up. You know what I mean? No characters, no singing, no messing. So I'm trying to do a bit of that.
And how is that, just being yourself on stage? Like, I know you began in acting. That's how we know each other way back.
Yeah.
What's it like now when you just get up and you're not anyone else? You're just you.
It's not so much to being you. It's the pressure of, I think it's harder. The hard part of stand-up is like, you have to tell everyone like these are the jokes you've picked. This is the show you've chosen. And you have to go like, I think this is funny. Right. And that's so difficult to go like, I think if you think about that for too long, I'm like, what? Because it's like so embarrassing. And it's like un-Irish, isn't it? Like to be like, well, I think this is good, what I did. But you have to believe it's good, otherwise you wouldn't do it or whatever. So
totally. I just published a podcast yesterday with the singer Claire O'Malley, and she's worked in the US as much as here. And she said, over here, if you tell people I'm a singer, they're all like, oh, so you think you can sing? And she's like, yes, it's my job. You know, she's an actor as well. But like, you have to know that you're funny to be a stand-up. You have to know you can sing to be a singer. But we still like to cut people down in Ireland. Like, well, who does he think he is?
I think we do a bit of that. And then we also do it to ourselves, I think, a lot as well. I think we have a shrinking violet tendency thing of to be like, oh, no, sure, look, well, I'll hope for the best. Like there's a marked difference in the Irish comedians and the UK comedians. They see themselves much more as like an artist and like they're changing the world. That's what they're doing. Whereas we're just kind of much more rooted in having a good time.
And do you script everything, or do you kind of leave it do you kind of have a basic plan of what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I different. Sometimes I will type out a lot of stuff. I saw Joanne McNally's Instagram the other day and she was showing her notes and I was like, oh, she types everything right. Okay, right. What does she do? Whereas I have more like, I thought we have some here. That's what a show kind of looks like.
Oh, really,
yeah. Little noteens. And then they get bigger. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. Actually, you know, I have loads of stuff right here.
This is a good
So what?
behind the scenes look for all your fans now.
Yeah, so I'll have like I'll do a page for each section, and then move the pages around, and then the pages turn into, so it turns into one little note. So it turns into this mad thing that makes no sense if you were to read it.
Yeah.
There's a night that there's a comedy night they do. I forget what it's called. The set or something, I think it's called, and they give other people. You get someone else's set list. I think that's called set list, and they just guess what they might be about, and they do an improvised stand-up set based on what that is. Like
That's
I have notes there: sunburn, barber, girls allowed. That's a section. How's that
lovely.
supposed to make sense?
Only you
But
could
no,
threads there.
yeah, I'm not very. I'm not as. I could be more writerly. I think. I think I will start doing that now. Trying to write more, have a practice more of like every day, do something, write something down. Every gig, try something new, because I felt under pressure getting here. I was like, Jesus Christ, to the wire, getting up for this show.
I know. Do you know what? I did try that for a while. I was writing books during lockdowns and I was trying to sit down and write a certain amount every day as a practice. But
Mm,
then I got an autism and ADHD diagnosis. And part of knowing that is now knowing that I have spiky productivity. So at certain times, someday I might sit down and write 10,000 words, but then I mightn't write again for 2 weeks. So as long as I kind of go with it while I feel it, like, and go with the flow of the intuition and the you get that spark of all that
yeah.
creativity, you like, I have to get this down now. As long as I make time to do that, I'm okay with then the fallow periods in between. So that's
So you're
another.
at peace. You're at peace with it now.
Yes, whereas before I would have said, oh, I'm never disciplined, I'm really lazy, I can't stick to anything, I start and I stop things. And now I understand, actually, that's how I work to the deadline, with the dopamine that comes when you know the deadline is in 3 hours and you have to get this done. That's when I kick into gear and I do it really, really well. It's all how I've always worked through school and college and everything. Always the night before, cramming before an exam.
I was the same. I was the exact same. I was actually thinking a lot about that the school thing and the exam thing. It's so formative of how if you forget that that's actually, it's not about learning off the French verbs. It's actually about conditioning your body of how you're going to behave in your life. Like that's actually how you respond to school. And I was like, it's actually very cruel then, because there's so many weird external things that go on, that you hate your school, you hate the people in it, you have only you have no friends, whatever it is, that impacts then on your life. It's like stuck with it. I'm sure you can work on changing those things. But I was thinking about that, all the my exams, I was the classic could do better, capable of more, needs to apply himself. Every single one of my school reports said those things.
Yeah.
And then in the end, for the like leaving cert, then I crammed for the 2 weeks and just pull it off. You know what I mean? But I don't know if I like that or not. I'm like, you're saying you're at peace with there. Part of me is like, well, have I ever done my best? I'm
Yeah.
starting to wonder that. That's what I'm starting to wonder.
Well, what is your best? This is another thing I've learned. For me, my best is like, I might give something 200%, but forget to eat and go to the loo and sleep because I'm giving something my best to get it over the line. Whereas when people say do your best, they actually just mean do your best in a reasonable amount of time, but also look after everything else in your life. And a lot of people on the spectrum, when we hear do
Mm.
your best, we take it to mean 100% absolute, to the exclusion of everything else, do our best on this thing. And that's why we burn out a lot,
Oh
because
yeah.
we give it everything and we forget to sleep or eat, as I say. And then we crash and we have to recover for 2 weeks after doing our best for something. And that's not healthy either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's about knowing thyself. Whatever philosopher said that, I think that's a great thing to live by.
Yeah, sometimes the real things that you hear all the time are actually good. That's like, it's like the way people think Shakespeare's full of cliches, but he made up the cliches. Sometimes it's like the things that you've heard many times are actually true important things to live by.
Yeah.
I'm due a crash. I'll get a crash now. This is I've done 21 shows or something, so just whatever, 6 more. So by next week then, but I'm actually so looking forward to it. I'm like, I've nothing to do. I've nothing the whole week. I'm gonna sit on my arse. I'm like, can't wait. Absolutely can't wait for it. Sometimes embrace the crash, I think, as well. Like, yeah, go. Just revel in it. Just do nothing.
Totally. And how do you get through these shows like so intense? Are you caffeinated? Are you, sugared up? How do you manage to keep it up?
I have to have a little because I'd be quite, not so much, I'd be nervous, but like not so much directly before the show, but in the morning of, over in Edinburgh. Edinburgh is very intense. There's thousands of shows on, and it's not like just going doing a gig in a pub downtown. It's like it's your show. You have to. Are people going to come? Will there be 12 people there today? Will there be 100? It's that kind of thing. So that's all in the back of your mind all the time. So I have to build in, like I have the same food every day. I'll have porridge, 2 eggs, and an apple before I get to the show. I have like every day because I'm like, and I only pick egg because that doesn't take long to eat. You can get it in a boiled egg, get it in. That's I'm shove it in my mouth, and I'm like, or I distract myself, ring my boyfriend, and I eat food while I'm talking to him because it's distracting. So I find the food bit hard, but I have to have it. Otherwise, the show will suffer if you don't have food in your belly. Like, so I have to do that. And then I think it's just chatting. Like, so whether a show goes good or bad, it's nice to chat. Like, I have a routine. I meet other Irish comedians who are here every day. And the little routine of that really helps because it's just like, oh, it's very brief. You just go, how was your show today? And you go, yeah, grand, how this? And how many do you have in? Grand, grand, grand. Then we all do that in a little circle. And then you just move on and you just have a chat and have the crack. Because you can be out here, it's different. The intensity of it, it's like like a mini climate or something. It's like, just a whole little bubble. Like you could be out till 3 o'clock. You're not necessarily out hitting the booze hard or whatever, but you're just kind of hanging around. You're having a slow evening, and you're not like it's not like getting drunk every night or anything. But you're kind of just in bars, just hanging out, and that kind of you can do it in a different way than you would. Like you'd be exhausted if you were at home, but then you've kind of nothing else to do during the day, so you kind of can relax as well. But yeah, it's kind of even though it's only an hour a day, every hour a day is the show, but every other hour is filled up with thinking about the show. What can I change? What can I move? What did they like that yesterday? Is there going to be a review coming in? You know what I mean? All this kind of thing. Luckily, no one has come in to review me because apparently I've learned you have to pay $5,000 to a PR company. Yeah.
No way. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's gross.
Yeah, that's
It's so
horrible.
weird. All
Yeah.
those lists you people see of like top 20 shows to see in the Edinburgh Fringe, that's just from someone's PR desk wrote a list.
Yeah.
You'll see an article in the Independent, and all the artists that they mention are all just from the same agency. Like it's total nonsense.
It's the same in my industry. When you see a company winning the best wellness award for 2024 or the most holistic coach award, these are all paid awards. I get emails all the time saying, do you want to be considered? Pay $2,000 and we'll put you on the list of, whatever the word is, nominees for this award. All this rubbish.
Yeah. And then you just have it. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Means nothing.
People are very clever finding out ways to make money out of other people.
Yeah, it's very unethical. I don't like it. So do you find that you need time to come down after a show? Like you couldn't just go home to bed?
No. So say if I was doing a tour show in Ireland, right? So if I was doing a show Dundalk and I live in Dublin, so you drive back. So I tend to drive back. I'd stay in Cork maybe, because it's just that bit too far to drive home. Whatever, it could be 2.5, 3 hours. So I'll wait it out. I'll stay in Cork, but generally you drive back, and that can be. It's actually a bit of a. I'm okay with it now, but it can be a bit of a head fuck if you think of like there could be 300 people somewhere, and you have them for an hour and 20 minutes. And it's all thing. And then I go out and say hello afterwards and do if anyone wants selfies and any of that kind of stuff. I go out and meet them. And then, so within 20 minutes of you being, you're like, you're bowing or whatever. You're like, thank you so much for coming to the show. And 20 minutes later, you're sitting in your car, like, just on your own.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to whatever. I play the John Creedon show. I'll put on that because it's always a variety of music. And I'll go back to the podcast of that. And it's like, that can be a bit like, Jesus, I feel weird. Like I feel out of like, because there is actual chemicals. You always forget that it's not just like a buzz. There's actual chemical things happening. You probably know more than me, but like there is things happening. So you have to kind of calm down a bit. And then even if I get home, say if I get home at 2 a.m., I'll have to watch a bit of TV or TikTok or something. Just because it's like, I remember when I used to work in bars and I'd come home at 3 or 4 or whatever, you still have to do something. Then you have to have a sandwich. You have to watch something because you can't just go direct from there to bed. It doesn't work. Yeah. Your body's too full of stuff. Like,
it is. Barry just told me recently, he's an actor for anyone listening, my husband, that the amount of adrenaline you get doing a show, and I presume it's the same for a comedian as an actor, because you're there on stage being perceived. It's the same amount of adrenaline as you would get if you were in a car crash.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I keep meaning to look that up actually, where the stats are, but I've heard that before. So like, yeah, it is, but it's
if your body's already kind of running on empty, let's say you're a high cortisol type nervy character anyway, that's going to burn out your adrenal glands much quicker than somebody who like can shelve it for a few hours and go for a jog and eat well. But you're doing loads of great stuff, eating protein in the morning and slow release carbs and all that. So you're really minding.
That's the only, they're basically the only food bits I know, is that porridge is slow release and that the eggs have protein. That's basically all I know about food. And then an apple is nice, kind sugars from the fructose. I know that's basically all I knew. And I went with those exact things. Yeah. That's it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd love to be some of the comedians here. Some of them are so cool about it. Like there was a guy in the artist bar last night, and he was like sitting there, and he was having a beer, having a smoke, and then I was like, "What time's your?" I was like, "How was your show today?" He's like, "Oh, it's on in 20 minutes." And they try and do this other thing of trying to be so cool about like fuck it, you know what I mean? And I'm like, they don't, you don't really mean that. You actually mean like, I'm nervous for the show and I'm hoping you obviously care as much as anybody else, but they do this performance of pretending not to care, and I'm like, that sounds like a whole other, the wrong way for me. That sounds exhausting. The idea of putting on a mini performance for your colleagues, whatever, just say how cool you are, that would be exhausting to me.
Yeah. And could you ever get up there after a drink yourself, or would you always have to be 100% sober?
I tend to do sober, and if there's comedians, like say people who are starting off, I will always say don't have the drink before, because it's just a nasty habit. It's just like you probably could be fine, have 1 pint, but it's actually just a nasty habit if you go. Like there's sometimes I'll go in and do a gig in a club. There's shows I do on my own in like big venues and theaters and stuff, and then there's your gigs, 20-minute spots throughout the week in comedy clubs and in bars. And that bit, I think, just you can do that absolutely now without having a drink at all. I know it's very tempting, but I think it's better. Like it depends. Like sometimes if there's a gig here that's like starts at 11 p.m. And you'd be on like stage time 20 to 12, and I'll have a beer for that because I'm meeting the audience or something. I'm like, well, match in some way. But I think to get the bad habit, and you have to feel all your feelings. You just have to, even though you're shitting it, you have to be shitting it, and then you have to learn how to be scared, learn how to be okay, and learn how to make that switch. That's the most exciting bit of any performer, is the bit just before they're a member of the public and then they're the person on stage. I think that's a magic little twist that happens. But you won't feel that the same way if you're, even I think one drink numbs you that time a little bit. I think that's what it's a stimulant. That's what it is. And then sometimes it's nice, like sometimes I'll take a pint to go on with, and that's different. I think drinking a pint throughout an hour is no problem. I did a show last year. My show was on here at like 5:45, and then I did an extra show at 11 p.m. And that was it was a risk, because it was like, oh, see if we sell the tickets. The room was twice the size as my normal room. We did sell the tickets. Loads of Irish people came, and it was really like there was no technician in the room for some reason. We didn't have a login for Spotify. It was real stressful. And I got it because the loads of Irish people came to the show, and then they were all up for it and up for the crack. Then it was kind of rowdy, whereas my other show was 5:45. It's the evening. No one's been out yet. They haven't had their dinner even. So it was like suddenly I was 11 p.m. rowdy, and I had a drink prepared behind the curtain. I was like, oh, you all have drinks, and I never drink because I'm usually on a 5:45. And then I went, but wait, and I whipped out a drink from thing, and they're all like, yeah, or whatever. So those kind of things can be a bit of fun with it. But it is a boozy atmosphere. It is a boozy thing. Do you know where I think it's harmful for my body and my intake of food and things is that if I'll come home at 11 or come home at 1 o'clock and I'll want to eat then, because I mightn't have had that stuff drives me nuts. And I'm 36. So if I eat food late, I'll feel shit the whole day. It's worse than a hangover.
It depends.
Eat a shit thing.
You can eat porridge at that time and it'll still fill the gap, and it won't affect you the same way as a big Chinese takeaway might.
So but it's hard, isn't it, to go for it? It's hard if you come in at night to go for something nice. You want a bit of filth. Even toast, like toast will make me feel sick the next day. But like you should have, like porridge would be a great one, I'm sure. Porridge is king.
You can have porridge anytime, and it's full of B vitamins, which calm your nervous system as well.
Oh, do they? Okay, right.
Food. Yeah, but you must have it with butter. You need proper fat with it so that you absorb everything in the porridge. So you need to have it with a knob of butter, or at least whole fat milk or cream or something really fatty in it too.
Oh, I'm full fat milk all the way. I'm a milk fan. I never grew up. I love it. I love it.
Great for you. Well done. Have your pint of milk with your dinner.
I'm a proper farmer. I love it. You can have it with any meal. Meal. I love it.
We used to work in a cafe in town like 20 years ago, Barry and I. He was under the stairs washing the dishes and I was up making the coffees. And there was this guy who would come in every day, and he would like it was the start of the cappuccino phase in Ireland, you know,
Yeah.
when coffees became a thing. It was just when the shift to the euro came in as well, whatever that year was. And everyone was ordering.
2002.
There you
2002.
go. Thank you. And we'd just been away from in Australia, so we came back in the summertime, and everyone was used to the euros, and we were. I was counting them out in the till as if like I'd never seen them before. People must have thought I was really strange.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Been in for 6 months, and I didn't know my coins. But anyway, there was this guy who would come in and just order a pint of milk with his sandwich every day, and we were all just like, "Oh my god, he's such a farmer." He was the only person I've ever seen drinking a pint of milk.
It's delicious. It's
It is.
delicious.
But listen, do you have, I wanted to ask you, firstly, I want to say, I want to ask you two things. Number one, do you have a pre-show routine, like say in the half hour or the hour before? What are you doing? Are you warming up your voice? Are you stretching? Are you breathing? How do you manage that right before you go on? And number two, adjoining it, do you have like a persona for the Shane Daniel Byrne everyone sees on stage? Or is it actually just you saying funny things?
So the routine changes depending on the setup. So here in Edinburgh, I'm doing a full hour-long show. Most shows that I will do will be 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And that'll be very relaxed in a comedy club, upstairs in a pub or whatever, something like that. For the show here, what I've developed in Edinburgh is I will in the flat here that I'm renting, I was like, I'll make sure that's clean. That really, I do that for any nerves, like, or even if I'm actually stressed over something, I find cleaning the house really good way. You're processing stuff I'm one of those, I will always be thinking things in the back of my, like worrying around at the back of my head. I'm one of those kind of people. I remember ages ago, I was doing a job interview and I was like, I didn't sit down and write out my lists of my competencies. I just knew going around, I was coming up with answers to those questions in my head. I'm that kind of thinker. So here, I find cleaning up is a really good way of doing it. And it's always just nicer to have a clean house. It's just nicer for everything. So I'll do a bit of that. I'll clean, make sure the flat's clean, do my eggs. And then before the show here, I go to the same coffee shop. I get coffee, sit outside. They have Wi-Fi because on Saturdays here, it's so many people visit this city that you can't even get phone signal. Like it's like the past. It's like going to Witness Festival or Oxygen or something. It's like absolutely the past, and you just can't even. So you can't. The phone is a real good distractor for the few minutes before the show, whatever. So I'll have the coffee, then go over and I'll meet my agent on this particular set of steps, and then I go up and I have an outfit for this show, which I never normally do. So I change the outfit and that kind of thing. And I meet the audience on the way in. So when they're on the way into the venue, I do like a quick hello or whatever, or I have like a few gags or whatever. And that the show kind of starts on the stairs then. So that kind of helps me. There's no real like moment of like, here we go. Because when you meet them outside, it's kind of, some of them will say hi, some of them will know you, most of them won't because you're here. And you know, that kind of thing. So I will use that as a nice way of kind of tricking myself, easing myself in. Whereas at home, I think going into gigs, not so much anymore. I don't have like major panic. I'll think about it maybe an hour before. I'll be worried about something. Like I think it's good to be nervous, even though it can be annoying. It can be just irritating. Like, oh God, I wish I could just feel different. But I think it's still good. Still care about it. Still want it to be the best it can be. I still want everyone to have a good time. But I don't have rituals per se. I don't have a lot of that stuff. I'm not very woo-woo anymore. I used to be more woo-woo. I'm less woo-woo than I used to be. But I will have stuff, little things for me. Like I keep little things. The last poster of the last show had me with a bouquet of flowers. And on this show this time, I have a bouquet of flowers on the stage. So I have little things that I'm like, I'm progressing. I'm moving forward. I have little things like that. It also looks nice. The rooms in Edinburgh can be just little dumps in loads of times. People sit in a hot, sweaty room. So I'll have little things like that. So the flowers are on stage now because I don't know what to do with them next year. Hasn't occurred to me yet. I was like, but I'd like the continuation of it. I do like a bit of thread, even if I think people sense the textures of that stuff, even if they don't know what the meanings are. I don't think, there's something, I don't know. That's the woo-woo-ness of me. I'm like, there's an interpretation from on their part or something. I think so. And then
flowers right behind you there in the picture. So that's
nice. Well, there's this is just the girl who owns this flat. She had the flowers there. Yeah. I always forget. I think lots of people forget. You can buy flowers for yourself every time you go shopping. When you go to Aldi, you can pick up flowers as well. And they last, you'll get a week and a bit out of them for like £8. I was like, it's a really good investment in your life. I'm like, it smells nice, they look nice, love it. I think it's a really thing everyone forgets. It's like you can just buy them. You can just get them yourself. They're not special occasion things. You can just get them. Now I have gags about the flowers as well. Now that's kind of working out for me as well. And then the persona. I mean, I think no. There's people who do persona as comedians, and they're a whole other person, kind of up there. Not so much a character, but they're a whole other vibe. I think I saw Maeve Higgins, the comedian Maeve Higgins. Years ago, I saw her say she was like, keep it as close to yourself as possible and just try and be funny or something like that. And I just took that in very early on when I started stand up, and I've kind of kept it. So I think it is very like you, very like me rather. It's very like I am kind of myself up there, but it's very, people sometimes say this thing of it's a heightened version of yourself. I think that's a bit of a misnomer as well, because it's not so much a version of yourself. It's just me being very heightened. I'm just like revved up because you're doing a whole show, and I'm high energy on stage and sweaty and all that kind of stuff. But I do think I think that's the bit, like that's the vulnerability that's good. People connect to that, being yourself. Like that's the bold bit. That's the risk. Like sometimes the shows in Edinburgh, the UK shows, can be very serious, even though they're comedy shows, and they talk about very serious things. Everyone's talking about autism and ADHD diagnoses as well, so you'd love it. They're like, it's a big thing at the moment, and I'm not really doing that this time round. But doing this kind of serious piece, but I still think it's also vulnerable just to be yourself. Like that's a hard thing to do. That's a hard thing in a time when we can all be anybody we want. We can all put up whatever pictures we like on our Instagram of look at our gorgeous weekend and aren't my kids' clothes go blah 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 blah. We can all do all this stuff, but actually it's still a risk to just plainly be yourself and say what you think or say what you're interested in and say what I think this is funny. This is what I want to talk to you about. That's still a risk. So I don't think so. I don't think I would like to go and lean into do a character comedian at some point. I'm testing that out in October. There's a night that's in Cork called Test Tube Babies, and it's where you just do random stuff. You don't do your normal stuff. You just see what you can do. So I'm going to try a bit more an on-stage character comedian. So I don't know how that'll go.
I loved your
But I think
character during lockdown. Your Instagram was amazing. It was one of the highlights of my days back then. All the different characters in the offices and everything, because you got everything so spot on.
I miss it. I miss the COVID for the characters. I don't have the same impulse anymore to do them. I love doing it then. I love doing it. I think the COVID was easy to do the jokes about because everybody was having the same life. So now we're all back to our intricate web of life, and we're all off doing our own things down our own rabbit holes. Keeping our heads down, whatever. That we don't have as much in common.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of an interesting time because everyone was having, wait, what's happening now? What are the rules now? What's going on here? When do we have to do this? How long do we have to stay home? Blah, blah, blah. And I think it was when people have something shared like that, it's easy to kind of, if there's so much commonality, it's easy then to just have crack because they're like, yeah, I'm also doing that. Like it was the stupid stuff, but like, yeah, I miss doing the characters. It was good. They still like, I mean, there's ones, if I do something like the radio, they still stick on, well, you've probably heard his sketches. And I was like, I haven't done a sketch in like 2 years. I haven't I did one recently, but apart from that, like I've done one in like a year and a half, but I did love it. I loved the COVID ones that were like, when we at the very beginning, when everyone was like making stuff in their house and making stupid costumes. I did a microphone that was a remote control with socks on it, and I was like, I missed that. Like I missed that stupid stuff. Then it got all very slick, and suddenly everybody was an online comedian, and there was all people had ring lights and tripods and editing and all that stuff. So it all changed the game.
Yeah. How do you feel COVID has changed us all as a society? Do you see any like PTSD? Because when I scratch the surface with people in my work, I think people are still carrying around a lot of kind of shock and stress from those few years that, we haven't had a chance to process. We've just jumped back into busy lives. Does that come out in the world, or do you see it in your audiences? Is there a change in people now?
Well, they don't want COVID jokes. No one really wants to hear that anymore. And it's kind of like, it's a major eye roll if you try to do, like, you can mention it, you can reference that it happened or whatever, but people don't really want jokes. Like, I don't know about the PTSD or anything like that, but I feel like it didn't, because it kind of faded away. I mean, there's plenty of COVID still around. My mother has COVID at the moment, but like, I don't know. I think we'll never get over the shock of that. And it's not so much like we all forgot. We got so wrapped up in what's happening now and 5 meter and 2 meters and level 5. I think we got so I can never stop talking about it. I love talking about it, actually. I love it because the whole world went, we were once in a generation. You got this minute to go, look at everything is so weird. And like all the other things of like the fact that they could make this response and people got extra money in from the social protection, all this kind of stuff. I was like, oh, you guys can just change everything whenever you like. But you don't do it. Whenever you want, you can just upheave the whole thing and sort it all out and make sure people have this and support the restaurants and whatever it is. You can do all this stuff. And it was like, but you just don't do it. And I find that drives me nuts. I'm banging my head against the wall. I think about that because we're so much. I was looking, there's guys camping out on the canal again. And you're like, how are they camping on the canal again? Do something about it. That stuff drives me nuts. It's like a change it. But I also think everybody got shocked because we were like, oh, the world is actually, it's so fragile. We all got those first few weeks. I mean, I remember thinking, I was doing the maths and Radker said something like, oh, whatever the percentage of at the death at the moment is 2%, whatever. And I was like, right, well, that's all our parents. I was like, are all our parents about to die in the next few weeks? Is that what that's shocking. The world went upside down. We actually had to get in our house. You couldn't go to your job. That was shocking. And then we just got so things kept changing. So we didn't actually get a chance to sit in any one particular phase for too long. It was like, now we're doing this, now we're doing this, now we're doing this. And actually then it was so tumultuous and then it just peters out and it was just gone.
For me is that there was no official end to it going, okay, we're over it now. And maybe every winter we'll keep an eye out on the new viruses.
Yeah.
But there was no kind of official end. And there was still the threat of there may still be a lockdown this winter if the numbers go up. So we were kind of left hanging kind of. And yet,
and of course it will never happen unless it became really voracious, deadly. It would never, there's never going to be one of those. We'll never see it again. We'll never see a lockdown ever again because people just won't do it a second time or whatever, a fifth time around, whatever it is. But I do think I mean, I wonder what all the little things are, what things I keep thinking about those moments of like, what would it be like if this happened? I keep thinking about like if Trump's assassination had been successful assassination, I was like, what would this festival be like? I feel like all the jokes would have to be different. It would be a different context. All these kind of little things I keep thinking about that's preoccupying me at the moment. And some of them I'm like, what would it be like if that COVID never happened? I wouldn't be being a full-time comedian. Definitely not if that COVID didn't happen. Because I was being a comedian, going around gigging, then I did videos, then I got attention online. One video sparks it all and you just have to go from there. And then I got offered these big gigs and now people will actually buy tickets to a show. Like I'm super lucky that that's happened. And I just had to rise to the challenge. Like I was not that experienced as a comedian and suddenly I was doing a show for 400 people. And it was like, you just have to just do it. You just have to just make yourself good enough. So I enjoyed that part of it. But obviously mourn the loss of like all that time and all that energy and all that potential of a couple of years that we could have done something else with rather than nothing. You mourn that kind of thing, and obviously people died and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to know what it'd be like. I'd love to know. I think like I miss, you know what I do? The only thing I miss properly is the bit of space in the shops. I'm like, back off. People want to climb up your arse in the queue.
Just this morning, I had that too, and they're banging you with their trolley from behind, and you're like, "Step back, please." I still do meters between me and the person in front. I don't like people that much. I want to be breathing down their neck. Thanks.
Me too. I've gotten really impatient about it. I'm like, back off. I'm really just like, just give ourselves some space. There's no rush. People are like, every time the queue moves, they move as well. It's like, calm down. We're all going to get out of this shop at the same time. Yeah. There's nothing, you getting closer to my arse is not going to help. You know what I mean? There's nothing in there for you. Like, there's no point getting up there. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. But I don't know if it's changed. I don't know if it's changed comedy that much. I do think it is funny that people are sick of it. They don't want to hear. Because the first year back, it was like loads of COVID. Loads of comedians were doing, well, what did you do? What was your favorite lockdown? What did you learn? Any skills? And I heard someone say it the other day, and this is 2024, and someone said that, like, did you pick up any skills in lockdown? And like, it was flat, stony silence because people are like, yeah, I did. I made the banana bread, but like, shut up. Like, that was like 4 years ago now. Like, you don't talk about anything else. You don't talk about the news, the other bits of the news. You don't come out and go, so those Australian wildfires, you know what I mean? In 2020, you don't talk about that. So leave the COVID behind. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. I do think there's some need for a general population processing of the pandemic, though. because I think now that people don't want to mention it, it's like it never happened, but it really did. And my kids were in very formative stages, and I
Yeah,
know it
yeah.
caused them a lot of worry and stress. And we tried to protect them from all the hype on the news, but they would still go
Mm,
to the granny's house, and the granny was talking about the numbers every day.
mm.
It was just everywhere. It was on all the headlines in the shops, on the papers, and everything. So I do think the effects will still be seen, maybe in the younger generations for time to come, even if we're able to put a lid on it as older people.
I think so. And everybody's been, I think for young people, it was really hard. I think like, I remember saying to my friends, we were having one of the outside drinks somewhere, and I were saying like, imagine this was the summer you were 16. You know what I mean? That great summer of being 16, 17, and taking steps and making changes and taking risks. Like you missed all that. Like how miserable. And then I think as well, everyone loves to be all this stuff, the unrest that's been going on, and the riots they had in Dublin that time, and all those young people who were denied access to their services that they would normally have, their whatever it is, their clubs and their youth projects and all that stuff, and they missed all that. And those wonderful people couldn't reach these lads and help them whatever, because they just couldn't go and couldn't do anything, and they're not going to sign on to a Zoom to go to their youth project. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. And I'm like, they were denied all that, the help that might have been useful to them, and the support and guidance might have been useful to them. And also they're pissed off. I think there's no wonder they're angry. Like it was really annoying. The world went really irritating for them, and in a way that was unexplainable, that we all just had to go along with because we weren't sure. Like I don't mind if we went over the top. I don't mind that. People give out about that. Like, oh, it was totally over that. I'm like, well, I don't mind. We were just seeing. We were trying our best to make sure everybody's okay. I'm like, that's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't mind.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We could go on and on, but let's
I
not.
know.
We'll finish up soon though, because I don't want to take up too much of your
You're
time.
fine. What do I do next? I'll be going on tour in the new year in 2025, and then for now, I'm doing. When does this go out?
This will go out
Do you
next
know?
Tuesday, actually.
Oh yeah, so there's a gig in Vicar Street I'm doing for on the 1st of September. I think that's next week. Yeah, 1st September on the Friday, which is for all of it's going to funding for Gaza. So we're doing that on the 1st of Vicar Street. So that's a good one to do. And then I'm back in the Fringe. Then I'm doing extra dates in Dublin Fringe, and somewhere in Dublin Castle. I don't even know which room it is, but I don't know. So that room became available, and they were like, "Do you want to do that?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, Dublin Castle." Very cool. So I'm doing that because I'm in the Peacock as well for the rest, but that's sold out. So it's kind of exciting now. Pretty cool to be doing 2 venues in Dublin Fringe. It feels very rock and roll.
Amazing. How do you deal with all the demands? Because part of my learning about myself has been that I have demand avoidance. So when I feel like there's too much pressure on me, I can run away and want to hide. How do you have any of that like naturally in you, or do you just love having all these dates ahead and knowing I have to be there at that time? Because for me, I'd be starting to feel a bit claustrophobic.
I like having the dates organized. I am feeling like here because I do the podcast as well, Young Hot Guys, our podcast, and then I'm here and then I'm like trying to answer. I find it like I'm so where I am this month is so consuming, and then I'm like when there's like it's not a lot, but if there's little things, someone messaged me, is this okay about this date, about the podcast? I'm like, shut the fuck, I really get annoyed. I find myself getting really irritated about that. I'm like, what do you want now? Who wants something now? I do feel a bit like that. And it's not like I'm not Jennifer Lopez. Do you know what I mean? I don't like, I'm busy, but I'm not like, I've plenty of downtime. You know what I mean? I'm fine. I should behave myself more. Even things like I organized the comedy at Beyond the Pale Festival. And then the other day I said, well, you guys all send me an invoice so I can pay you. And then they started sending the invoices, and I was like, "Oh, shut up!" It's like so. I'm like, first of all, I asked them, and second of all, it's their money. Of course, I have to pay them. But I'm like, please. And they're like, "Geez, I'll get to it." And like, they're not being demand. They're just saying, "Here's my invoice. Pay me within 30 days as normal." But I'm like, Jesus Christ! All right, I'll do it now. Come on, I'll drop everything. I feel a bit like that. So I can be like that. I would like to get better. I was going to say I need to get better, but I could
I
say
was
I
just
like
thinking
to get
you
better.
need some staff. You need PAs and people to handle all that invoicing stuff, so you don't have to worry about it.
You don't really. I mean, the agent will get the ones from the venues, from the tour and stuff like that. But like, I don't mind. I do love a bit of admin. Like I was working in admin for a few years there, and I tell you, I'm good at it. I do actually enjoy a sit down with the laptop, have the fresh coffee there, and I do enjoy. Right now, I'll do all my business. I do enjoy that. Even little things like changing the little links in your link tree. I do like little things like that. I do like because it just feels like it's the support work towards the main work, and I'm like it feels like laying a bit of foundation somewhere. I do love it. I am into a spreadsheet. Like I'm into it.
Oh, cool. I don't know spreadsheets yet. I probably should, but I've tried and failed so many times with them. I
They're
do.
all Everything's online with the spreadsheets now. When I worked in
No,
offices,
no,
they'd be like,
no,
"Oh, he's a whiz. He's a
no.
whiz," and I'm like, "I'm not a whiz. I just Google exactly the sentence I need. If I was to ask a person a question, I'd type that into Google, and it will tell you what to do in your Excel sheet. It's good.
Yeah, no, I can make a table in a Word document and fill in a table with different rows and columns. So I make
Yes,
my own spreadsheets basically. But
that
I
is
just,
it. That's the same thing.
yeah, I've never gone near Excel. But I love that you get to wear different hats for you. Like in your line of business, you're doing all these different things, and that's probably what keeps it fresh and new for you. You know, you're not just standing up performing, you're also doing the admin, you're doing the person to person stuff as well.
Yeah, I do. I think that is good. I think kind of having a variety is good. Like
Mm.
I quite like there's some people I know, comedians who will only want to do one thing at a time, but I do quite like, even if it can be a bit hectic. Like I like that today I'm at the Edinburgh Film Festival. I'm doing this with you, and then I'm doing a recording a voiceover after this. And then like I love that there's different things. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're hosting, sometimes you're performing, and then I'm doing the podcast. I do like a variety of stuff. I think that keeps it busy for me. And actually I do kind of now feel I need more. I need to be future planning now. So I need to be going, okay, I need to incorporate. I'm getting a gym trainer when I go back, and I'm getting sexy by September. That's my new thing that we've made up because we have shows in September for the podcast, or in January for the podcast. So sexy by January. So we're doing that. And that's like, I mean, it's sexy what you're I do believe in sexy, whatever way you want to be sexy, but I'm like, I want to be strong and fit. That's my goal now, because I used to be a bit more fit. Now I'm not anymore. So I'm like, I need to get more fit. So and also, you're in your 30s, and you have to, if you're not fit in your 30s, then you start to worry about your 50s. So apparently that's a thing. I heard that on the radio. I'm talking about that. The osteopaths and the physios and all were telling us you have to be doing a bit of exercise. And I'm like, okay, right, well, I'll try and get on top of everything. But yeah, little things that try and make it. But I have to plan for the future. Like if you look at who was selling out Vicar Street 10 years ago, it's not necessarily the same people who are doing it now. So I'm like, this doesn't last forever. There's phases. So I'm like, I need new things. I need new ways to keep busy, new ways to make money, new ways to survive. So I'm like, I don't know what they are yet, but I do need more. So that's
Ah,
kind of
that's what I was going to ask. Where do you see yourself like in 10 years' time? Or say if money was no object and you didn't have to do stand up for money or whatever, what would you be doing with your days? Because this is my new thing. It's dreaming big, setting our big statements of what we want for our lives out there.
um I think, well, I really love the stand up, so I think I'd keep doing it. I think I'd keep doing it and try and do other things. And then I'd like to have I think I'd like to do more. I'd like to do acting again, but and I'd like to have more strings to my bow. So I think I would like to be like to do more film. I think I'd love to do more film, something like that. I've done little bits now, here and there, but I'd like to do more of that. But I think having a lot of things, having a lot of things on the go, I suppose it's the same. So more writing more and take myself seriously as a writer. Like I forget that I am a writer when I'm putting these shows together. I feel like I'm just better get 10 minutes. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm gathering minutes rather than actual thoughts and words. And I forget that I'm putting that together. So I'd like to try and do that more and be more writerly. And then, I mean, live by the sea. That'd be good. I always laugh at people saying that's like, I'd always love to live by the sea. It's like, so would everyone fucking else. Like, that's the most boring thing. We all would like that. It's gorgeous. We know. Like, it's one of those little truisms or something. It's like, yeah, of course.
So
Um,
house and Dalkey for you, yeah, with the millions.
Dalkey's a bit far out. I don't know. I don't know what sea I want. I want an imaginary sea, maybe. I'm like, that's somewhere closer to the city centre. That'll suit me better. Yeah, yeah. If they could build a new resort side of living on the North Wall or something like that, that'd be good. Yeah. Yeah, I just think Dalkey, a bit of a trek, a lot of hills. I'm not into that.
Yeah, small streets. Yeah. Okay, well, look, we'll wrap up. I want to let you get on with your day. Tell us just to finish, what's your idea of perfect happiness, if it exists?
Um, if it exists, okay. The way you say that, just before you wrap up, what's your idea of perfect happiness? I suppose just a feeling of peace, isn't it? I mean, peace has to come before happiness. I mean, there's never perfection. I don't think there is perfection, the perfect happiness. I don't think there is that. There has to be things. Life is about um changing and dying and regrowth and all that stuff. So those things are always going to happen. So it's never going to be perfect for very long. But I think just a general sense of peace. I think I would love if for everyone's perfect happiness, if there could be, people couldn't be, nobody should feel destitute. Nobody should feel wretched. Nobody should feel that kind of poverty. I think of Ireland, that's an achievable one. There's no reason why anyone should have wretched poverty in Ireland. Absolutely no reason at all. And that drives me up the wall that still exists. So I think that one for me would be a big thing if everyone could just have access to things. There was something I was thinking of. I feel like that's connected recently. I mean, oh yeah, like stuff like if everyone could have options to do. I did the Camino years ago, and I was like, the privilege is not being here on the Camino. It's not like we get to take these steps. It's the fact that I was able to get up and go off for 2 months. That's the privilege that I had. Everyone should feel access to that kind of way of living, that kind of lifestyle, that we don't have to be tied down forever to everything, attached to desks and tills and all those, wherever your job is, machinery, whatever it is. We shouldn't feel so tied to them. Life should be looser. Everyone should feel as in their work should be able to be have as many benefits as the public service people get. Everyone should have that, that kind of thing, and just that life gets to come first. I think that would be for me a more perfect vision of a happiness for everyone. Would be that it's about being alive and not surviving. It's about being alive. I think that would be great if we could all if we had a system that would a whole government or whatever it is, whatever the system is. If we had a system that put forward joy and mirth and peace and calm and full bellies and whatever. I sound like I'm a De Valera now. The laughter of children by the fireside, whatever, all that stuff. But yeah, I think that would be great.
You're the first person who's answered this in a global sense rather than just personally, and I love that, Shane. I could see a total turn into politics for you in the future, should you wish to, because I love your vision, and I think everybody.
Oh, well, thank you.
For you. So if you want to run for Taoiseach, you'll be getting my vote.
Yeah, when we need to get more like the American system, that you just don't have to be part of it, you just rock in and become the president. Let's just do that. Yeah, that'd be good.
Look, thank you so much for this. This was absolutely gorgeous to chat.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Rest of your run in Edinburgh, and I will see you in Dublin. I'm going to make one of your shows finally. I'm so sorry I haven't yet.
I'll hook you up. I told Dr. Barry before. I'll get you tickets. It's not a problem.
I want that VIP experience, so sort that out.
Right. There. Vicar Street next year, so that's the proper glam one. Right, we'll do that one.
Okay.
Thanks, Niamh.
You so much. Take care.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
That was just magic catching up with Shane. Make sure you follow him online and his podcast, Young Hot Guys. If you'd like to delve a bit deeper into processing what went on for you in the pandemic, you can go to my website, thewellnessclinic.ie. In my online store, I have a downloadable track for you to meditate with or use as journal prompts, and this should get the ball rolling for you. Thanks for watching or listening. Catch you again soon.